Hi, I'm your host, Caden Kramer, for this week's Coin Toss. Today we'll be discussing three topics. We have Sean Sandak, James McCool, Tim Marro, who will each have 30 seconds to discuss this week's topics. Our first topic will be the Houston Astros punishment. Obviously, GM and head coach were suspended for the season and then officially fired about 2 weeks after their suspension. Do you think that the Astros team as a whole should take more of a punishment, or should they just keep the punishment as is?
Look, it's very simple. Their championship should be taken away, in my point of view. This is how I'm looking. If we go across the pond over to Europe and we look at the Premier League in soccer, Manchester City was found guilty of falsely inflating sponsorship venue while making submissions as part of the financial fair play compliance process. And what was their punishment? Bans from European competition for 2 years and fined 30 million euros. And now we have something so detrimental to just the sport of baseball, that's sign stealing by cameras and technology, that all they do is just suspend and fire officials in office and don't do anything to the players. I personally think that their whole championship is a false basis and it should be taken away.
I also agree with Sean. And if you're wanting another example of how this could happen, the NCAA does it all the time. They have voided so many games over the past 10 years. Just as an example, the 2008 National Championship. These aren't just regular season games. These are huge games that they voided. The 2008 National Championship, Kansas versus Memphis. The 2011 Sugar Bowl with Ohio State versus Arkansas. And not only that, I think players from those rosters, the 2018 rosters, should also have some sort of punishment, whether that is suspension or a ban from the overall sport of baseball, because this just simply is not okay. It is a complete detriment to the game of baseball.
All right, I disagree with actually both of you. So when you look back at the 2017-18 World Series championship, from 20 years, 30 years from now, we're always going to see a bunch of cheaters. No one's going to remember Astros being champions. Everyone's going to see this scandal on top of it, and it's a cloud covering the city. And also, they had 4 draft picks taken away. Past years, they drafted Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and George Springer, all being drafted in the first round. They're not going to have another player like that.
Now, if they didn't win the World Series, would their punishment be as bad?
Well, I think the whole reason this is blown out of proportion is because they won the World Series. I don't think this would have obviously been a huge scandal, but the fact that they won the World Series, they cheated not only the Yankees but the Dodgers out of a World Series championship, that's the reason why this is such a big deal.
I have a question to better word that for you, Tim, since you don't think so. If next year the Yankees go all the way and win the championship and get caught doing the same thing, do you think that their punishment should be the same as the Astros?
No.
What would you do?
First of all, the Astros were punished with a fine of $5 million, which was the largest allowed by Major League Constitution. First of all, they need to change that completely. $5 million is not nearly enough. A team like Yankees are making $50 billion, even more. They're one of the highest paying sports teams ever. And $5 million being the largest allowed by the major MLB, it's not going to work.
Time. Our third topic is the opinions on the NFL playoff format. Do you like it? Is it bad? What do you think should change? What are your thoughts, Sean?
My thoughts, quite simply, no opinion. The playoff format specifically can work or not work with either format that's either now or this proposed one. I think the only one that is affected is the second seed. Why? Because they don't have a bye. What I find more interesting is the 17-game season and the 2 preseason games. I like changing the preseason to only 2 games, because who's watching the preseason? Really? Not much. But the 17-game season, that's a higher risk of injuries and something that the players won't want to do.
Like Sean said, I like the idea of them changing the preseason to 2 games. And overall, with the new playoff format, I like it a lot. It creates a whole new dynamic for teams. Like maybe a team doesn't do so well in the regular season, they have a lot of injuries, they go like 8-8, but they're a good team on paper and they make it all the way to the Super Bowl. It's just more entertaining product to watch for the NFL. Not to mention, it'll make the 1 seed and the 2 seed want to play longer, because if the 1 and 2 seed are in tight contention, then they have to play their starters late into the season, because they both don't get the bye anymore. Only the 1 seed will get the bye.
All right, I'm going to keep it short and sweet about the playoffs. Love it. More games, more football, more excitement. There's nothing wrong with that. However, like what you said about the bye, the 17-game season, I would have loved to see that as well. More football, more money. That's all there is to it.
From the player perspective and all this stuff with CTE coming out, the players are not very happy with the extra game. They think that it leads to more damage in the future to their mental health. So what do you think about the players' perspective?
Well, I'm going to start off here. So basically when you look at it, yes, more games, more injury. But as we're evolving the sport, we're also evolving the equipment. Helmets are getting better. Shoulder pads are getting better. I feel like as we keep on going on, it's only going to get better from here.
I agree with you, Timmy. I think technologically the NFL can only improve from where they're at now, especially after the huge CTE scandal. And for the players not really appreciating the extra game, why don't you want to play football anymore? It's supposed to be a sport you love. You're not supposed to just play football because you're good at it. You're supposed to love it. And even if there's a risk of injury, there's a risk of injury in anything you do. I think the players should be happy they get to play more NFL games.
Regardless of the technology, the risk of injury is not just playing more football. It's about their future. People could get injured and come back not the same. They could be in their prime, have a terrible injury, and come back not the same player that they were. It not only affects their future, it affects their money, it affects what they're going to do, and it affects their overall health, and I think that's a concern.
Our third topic will be Wilder versus Fury. Obviously, in their second matchup, Fury came out with a win, big-time TKO. Now, it's already been confirmed that they will have a third matchup. What does this do for both of their careers in the sport of boxing itself?
My opinion, while everyone was riding high on the Wilder fandom bus, I said Fury has a chance. Here's the reason why. He weighed in at 275, Wilder 231. You put 275 on top of him like he was when they were grappling, that wears you out, gets you tired. Here's the thing. Fury also pushed the pace on Wilder, which is something he has not experienced yet. Wilder's always the one pushing forward because he has that right hand. But here's my prediction. Wilder will not lose another fight because now that he lost, now that he's seen someone push the pace on him, he will grow, he will evolve, and he will become a better boxer still with that right hand.
Personally, I think simply Wilder was not ready for this fight. I think he underestimated Fury. If you go back and watch, he just looked completely unprepared. Now, going back when the round 3 eventually happens, I think Wilder will be 100% ready, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think he's going to win the fight. Not only on top of that, Floyd Mayweather has offered to train him for round 3. Floyd Mayweather arguably is the best boxer to ever live. I honestly think Wilder's going to take this one when they eventually fight again.
All right, so first off, Wilder came out way too defensive and uncomfortable for that fight, and it was seen because he got TK'd. The towel being thrown in was a good decision, and I feel like that's probably going to happen next fight, and that's why I do not want to see it again. I'd rather see Anthony Joshua fight Wilder or Fury. I think those would be 2 good fights, and I feel like Fury would just win against Wilder in a third match.
Wilder said that he lost the fight because of his 40-pound costume. What do you think of that?
First of all, I don't know why you're coming out with all that stuff on anyway. You shouldn't be coming out with 40 pounds worth of costume stuff to go ahead and get TKO'd in the 7th round. That makes no sense, first of all, from any standpoint. And second of all, that's not a good excuse. He just simply got outboxed. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Listen, the excuse is valid, but at the same time, no excuse is valid. The reason why I had to say excuse, I don't know why. But his costume was 40 pounds, and he said that he was wearing it for near 30 minutes. If you were wearing 40 pounds on your shoulders for 30 minutes, yeah, there's going to be something on the legs. I don't know the extreme of it, but it is valid. But I honestly don't think that he should have said an excuse at all. I don't think anything would make us change our minds on this fight.
My take on this is you're a professional boxer. take the loss like a man. You don't need excuses. Even if it was a costume, don't say anything. You know the fans and everybody's going to come at you for saying it. Take the loss like a man. That's all there is to it.
And that's this week's Coin Toss. See you next week with more topics to discuss.